Hello Bookish friends, welcome to another Books of Alfred Hitchcock video. In this video I will talk about one mediocre and two very famous and favorite adaptations directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I will talk about The Trouble with Harry by Jack Trevor's story, Vertigo by Pierre Boileau and Jacques Nerjerac, and Psycho by Robert Bloch, and of course compare them with their adaptations that are directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I finished the book that I was reading for Books of Alfred Hitchcock project, which was called İyi ama Harry'i Kim Öldürdü? This book is the Turkish translation of the book, The Trouble with Harry by Jack Trevor's story. This book, written in 1949, was adapted into an Alfred Hitchcock film dated 1955. In this book, a man is found dead in the woods by a small child. The captain who lives in the river thinks that he killed this man, Harry, by accident while hunting. However, as he meets new people from the town, he finds out that Harry has been a trouble for many of the people in the town, and nobody really cares he is dead. But there exists a mystery of who's the real killer of Harry. I remember watching the movie and thinking that this movie was very different from other Alfred Hitchcock movies, because it was quite witty with British dark humor, and the book was the same. I smiled a lot while reading the book, and I also thought that although the characters were very unbelievable, it was quite a successful absurd comedy work, as well as being a mystery. I quite enjoyed reading the book and never felt bored. So overall I gave İyi ama Harry'i Kim Öldürdü? The Trouble with Harry by Jack Trevor's story and 7 out of 10. The Trouble with Harry was adapted into a 1955 American Technicolor black comedy film directed by Alfred Hitchcock. The screenplay was written by Jean-Michel Hayes, and the film starred Edmund Gwenn, John Forsythe, Mildred Nedwick, Jerry Matthews, and Shirley MacLaine in her film debut. The Trouble with Harry was released in the United States on September 30th, 1955, then re-released in 1984 once the distribution rights had been acquired by Universal Pictures. This film was one of Hitchcock's few true comedies, though most of his films had some elements of raw humor in them. As for Alfred Hitchcock's cameo, he can be seen in the 22 minutes mark as he walks past a parked limousine while an old man looks at paintings for the sale at the roadside stand. This film is also notable as a landmark in Hitchcock's career, as it marked the first of several highly regarded collaborations with composer Bernard Herrmann. The contemporary reviews were middling to positive. Although the movie was a box office failure in the United States of America, it played for a year in England and Rome, and a year and a half in France. This adaptation was I think one of the most faithful adaptations of Hitchcock that I have watched. I thought the casting was quite good, and I really liked how the movie captured the dark comedy without any restrictions of the era. However, like the book, the movie failed to capture any three-dimensional characters that we can root for. Overall, I thought it was an enjoyable watch, and I gave The Trouble with Harry, the adaptation, a 7 out of 10. And I finished the audiobook that I was listening for 3 days, I think, which was a very short novel, Vertigo, by Pierre Boileau and Thomas Nerjerac. This book was originally written in French, and I read this for my Books of Alfred Hitchcock project. It was made into a quite famous movie directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring James Stewart. In this book, we follow a retired detective who has fear of heights, and one day one of his old colleagues says that his wife is acting very weirdly, and he wants to know the reason why, and he is tasked with following the wife. Our hero becomes obsessed with, also falls in love with the wife of his friend, and things take a different turn when the wife becomes depressed and tries to kill herself. First of all, I liked how the two chapters connected, and even though I knew the plot twist because I had watched the movie, I thought it was a very cleverly constructed plot twist. However, there were some parts which dragged on, even though the book was quite short. So I thought maybe it could have worked better as a novella. I liked the writing style, and I thought the translator did a decent job, and I gave Vertigo by Pierre Boileau and Thomas Nerjerac a 7 out of 10. Vertigo is a 1958 American psychological thriller film directed and produced by Alfred Hitchcock. The screenplay was written by Alex Koppel and Samuel A. Taylor. The film stars James Stewart, Kim Novak, Tom Helmore, and Barbara Bel Geddes. This film was the first film to use the dolly zoom, an in-camera effect that distorts perspective to create disorientation. To convey Scotty's agoraphobia, the effect is often referred to as the vertigo effect. The famous score was written by regular Hitchcock collaborator Bernard Herrmann. Alfred Hitchcock makes his customary camera appearance walking in front of Galvin Anster's shipyard carrying a trumpet case. Vertigo was filmed from September to December in 1957. It premiered in San Francisco on May 9, 1958, and it earned significantly less than most of Hitchcock films. The film received tepid reviews on release, but it received awards at the San Sebastian International Film Festival, including a Silver Seashell for Best Director for Hitchcock and Best Actor for Stewart. The film was nominated for 2 Academy Awards in the technical categories, Best Art Direction and Best Sound. Over time, Vertigo has come to be considered Hitchcock's magnum opus and one of the greatest films of all time. In 1989, it was one of the first 25 films selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the United States National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The film appears repeatedly in polls of Best of the Films by the American Film Institute. This adaptation was one of the adaptations that I thought was significantly better than the original work. Although I quite liked the original work and I gave it a 7 out of 10, I thought it dragged in some parts which was not present in this movie. The tempo was excellent, but what made this movie an extraordinary achievement was the visual effects, which was very progressive for the time that it was released. As the vertigo effect that was mentioned in the information part was excellent. Like his previous movies, I thought James Stewart played very well. Likewise, Kim Novak was excellent in her portrayal as Madeline. And I liked the addition of Barbara Bel Geddes as a character. So overall, I gave Vertigo, the Hitchcock adaptation, a 9 out of 10. The first book that I finished was the book that I was reading for Books of Alfred Hitchcock project, Psycho by Robert Bloch, the book that the most famous Alfred Hitchcock film was adapted from. In this book, Mary, who's tired of being poor and also waiting for her fiancé to collect enough money for them to get married, decides to take $40,000 belonging to her boss and then go to his fiancé saying that she inherited the money. However, she gets lost in the road and then decides to spend the night in a small motel called Bates Motel. She meets Norman, who's the owner of the hotel, and she senses that there is something very off with this middle-aged man, who says that he's living with his mother and did not ever even have a chat with a beautiful woman. Unlike some of the adaptations that I watched before, I completely remembered this one. So the plot twist was not a twist for me. However, listening to the book, knowing the plot twist, made it really interesting. And I thought Bloch structured a really clever mystery with a hint of a thriller in it. Especially the sections with the point of view of Norman was quite interesting to read. Of course, it's not as glamorous as the famous adaptation, but I have to say I found this thriller quite decent. Although this book was not a fast-paced book, the tempo never decreased and stayed the same all throughout the book, so it was consistent. So I gave Psycho by Robert Bloch an 8 out of 10. Psycho is a 1960 American horror film produced and directed by Alfred Hitchcock. The screenplay was written by Joseph Stefano. It stars Anthony Perkins, Janet Leigh, Vera Miles, John Gavin, and Martin Balsam. Paramount, whose contract guaranteed another film by Hitchcock, did not want Hitchcock to make Psycho. Their official stance was that the book was too repulsive and impossible for films. They did not like anything about it at all and denied him his usual budget. In response, Hitchcock financed the film's creation through his own Shamley Productions and chose to film Psycho in black and white and took most of his crew from his television series Alfred Hitchcock Presents. The murder of Leigh's character in the shower is the film's most pivotal scene and one of the best known in all of cinema. The scene was the subject of Alexandra O'Flip's 2017 documentary 7852, Hitchcock's shower scene. Bernard Herrmann wrote the score for Psycho. Hitchcock later remarked that 33% of the effect of Psycho was due to the music, and that Psycho depended heavily on Herrmann's music for its tension and sense of pervading doom. In Psycho, Hitchcock can be seen through a window wearing a Stetson hat, standing outside Marion Crane's office. The film was shot beginning on November 59 and ending on February 1960. It premiered on June 16, 1960. Internationally, Hitchcock was forced to make minor changes to the film, mostly to the shower scene. In Ireland, it was initially banned and accepted after 7 significant editing changes. Initially, the film divided critics due to its controversial subject matter, but audience interest and outstanding box office returns prompted a major critical re-evaluation. The movie went on to become the second highest grossing film of 1960 behind Spartacus, earning a box office gross of 32 million. Psycho was nominated for Academy Awards, including Best Director for Alfred Hitchcock and Best Supporting Actress for Janet Leigh, and Best Art Direction with Best Cinematography. Psycho is now considered one of Hitchcock's best films and is arguably his most famous and influential work. Often ranked among the greatest films of all time, it set a new level of acceptability for violence, deviant behavior, and sexuality in American films, and has been considered to be one of the earliest examples of slasher film genre. In 1992, the Library of Congress deemed the film culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant and selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. After Hitchcock's death in 1980, Universal Pictures produced follow-ups, 3 sequels, a remake, a made-for-television spin-off, and a television series. Before reading the book, I thought that it was not as exciting and horrifying as the movie. However, I do not agree with those reviews. I thought the book had a very good structure and also a quite good plot twist, which are the basic elements that made the movie Psycho a masterpiece. I think Hitchcock polished on some of the minor faults that was present in the book and made it much more shocking, such as making Norman Bates a very attractive man with a sympathetic touch. And it also omitted some details which could decrease the tempo of the movie. Other than that, it was quite faithful to the book. But like Vertigo, the additional touches, especially in the shower scene by Alfred Hitchcock, was brilliant. The scene is quite horrific, even in today's standards, with the inclusion of very eerie music score and the quick takes of the stabbing scene. I thought this was an excellent adaptation of a very good thriller, and I gave Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, a 10 out of 10. Those were my thoughts on both the books and the movie adaptations of The Trouble with Harry, Vertigo, and Psycho. Please comment down below, have you read any of the books or watched the movies, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose psycho. Psycho means psychopath in Turkish, and psychopath is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.